Welcome, and thank you for being an important part of this pilot for Kentucky's Kindergarten Entry Screener Initiative. The pilot is a critical part of making the implementation successful, and participants' feedback is important. It would be helpful to view this training with all kindergarten teachers in your building. Please be sure you have the implementation guide and a copy of the BRIGANCE Kindergarten Screen Manual to reference as you participate throughout this training. Let's review the objectives for this training. First, we will discuss Kentucky's Common Kindergarten Entry Screener Initiative for all children entering kindergarten for the first time. This screen provides valuable information for teachers to plan instruction and for schools and communities to improve school readiness. Included in this screening process will be the BRIGANCE Kindergarten Screen, in addition to data collection about child care prior to kindergarten. Please pause the video to allow yourself time to read the welcome letter from Felicia Cummings Smith, Kentucky Department of Education Associate Commissioner, which is located in your implementation guide. The purpose of Kentucky's Common Kindergarten Entry Screener Initiative is to ensure that every child entering kindergarten in the state has been assessed using a common tool to determine his or her readiness skills. Having this information will help educators plan meaningful instruction, as well as help identify those children who may need additional support via the Kentucky System of Intervention. The Kentucky System of Intervention, or KSI, is a framework for providing systematic, comprehensive services to address academic and behavioral needs for all students, preschool through grade 12. Screen data can be used to help determine if KSI is needed for children. We recommend that screen scores be used as only one source of data for KSI determination for both students who may have a potential need for supports or a potential need for enrichment. JCPS implements the Response to Intervention, or RTI framework, which is aligned with the Kentucky System of Intervention. The data will also be used by communities and legislators to guide future decisions related to early childhood education. In Kentucky, school readiness means that each child enters school ready to engage in and benefit from early learning experiences that best promote the child's success. Students come to kindergarten with varying degrees of readiness, but all are ready to grow, ready to learn, and ready to succeed. This screening process does not determine eligibility for kindergarten. The only eligibility requirement for kindergarten is that a child is 5 years old by October 1st. Kentucky will use this screening information to determine the child's level of readiness for kindergarten by using the following terms: ready with supports, ready, and ready with enrichments. These terms were chosen to provide accurate information of what a child needs to be successful. They also correspond to the Kentucky System of Intervention. There are many benefits for the stakeholders of this initiative. Kindergarten children benefit because their instruction will be targeted on their strengths and needs, and they can be more quickly referred to RTI if needed. Teachers get better information upon which to plan their instruction. Parents receive information about their child's skills, so they are aware of any needs and can help reinforce skills at home, building that important homeschool connection early on. This first year is considered a pilot year. The pilot year is critical in gathering baseline data, so it's very important that you are involved in helping collect that data. The BRIGANCE Kindergarten Screen is the tool that was chosen for the Common Screener of Readiness Skills. There are 2 required assessments and 2 optional assessments. You will enter the data for the required assessments into an online management system. Let's look at the overall timeline of the initiative. This year is the pilot year for all Jefferson County kindergarten classes. Once children are screened, results can be entered into the online management system. Prior setting data will be entered into Infinite Campus. The 2013-14 school year will see the full implementation of the project. Now that we've looked at the initiative, its purpose and timeline, let's examine the screening itself. Developmental screening is used to identify children's strengths and needs as they relate to readiness skills. With practice, the BRIGANCE screen takes approximately 15 minutes to administer and is a quick and accurate screen that samples skills in key areas. Because we are using a common screener to identify children's skills, this will help us to better prepare all children in Kentucky for kindergarten. Having this information is helpful as we plan instruction, interventions, and enrichments. Let's now take a closer look at the screen the state has chosen, the BRIGANCE Kindergarten Screen. The BRIGANCE Kindergarten Screen gives us a snapshot of the child's developmental skills that are aligned to Kentucky standards: approaches to learning, social and emotional development, health and physical well-being, cognitive and general knowledge, language and communication development.
Now let's take a look at all of the components of the BRIGANCE screen. Open your kindergarten screen manual. This is where you will find the directions and other information you need to administer the screen. The first tab in the manual is the introduction. This has great information that you can refer to as needed. The rest of the screen manual has actual screening assessments, plus other tools. The next two tabs you see are the basic assessments, K and 1. The tab section labeled Basic Assessments Kindergarten is required for this screen. The next tab says Supplemental Assessments. These are additional skills you can screen children for, but are not required during this pilot year. Next are the screening information forms, which include the rating forms and observation forms. These are also optional this pilot year. Next are the self-help and social emotional scales, which are required. Finally, there is the Readiness for Reading scale, another optional assessment. Okay, that's the manual. You can put that to the side for now. Additionally, there are kindergarten data sheets, which can also be called 5-year-old child data sheets. Both of these sheets are the same, and they are used for recording the child's responses to the basic assessments. You will need a data sheet for each child you screen. These data sheets come in triplicate, and we'll explain how you will use these forms a little later. In your implementation guide, you will find a list of the required and optional assessments. So, to be clear, there are 2 required assessments in the BRIGANCE Kindergarten Screen and 2 that are optional. The 2 required tools are the Kindergarten Basic Assessments and the Self-Help and Social Emotional Scales. The 2 optional tools are the Supplemental Assessments and the Readiness for Reading scale. You will have a chance to look through and practice using the required tools during this training. You may choose to use other tools in the K screen, but these are strictly optional and not a part of this training. There are 5 steps to the basic assessment process. Each of these steps is covered completely in the Introduction section to the BRIGANCE Screening Manual. We encourage you to look over this section to learn about helpful screening tips for teachers.
Step 1 is get ready to screen. As you get ready to screen, plan ahead by familiarizing yourself with the teacher manual and gathering all of the materials needed. There is a list of pilot materials in your implementation guide. Children need to be screened in their primary language. All Spanish-speaking students from both ESL and non-ESL speaking schools will be screened using Curriculum Associates materials that have been translated into Spanish. JCPS is working on translating materials for other English language learners. You will receive additional information for screening these students. Use the manual to determine if accommodations need to be made for any other children. As mentioned previously, it's important to become familiar with the kindergarten screen before use. Turn to Basic Assessments Kindergarten tab and find pages 2 and 3. Take 3 minutes to read through these pages. The format for each skill in the kindergarten screen is the same. There is an overview, description of skill, required materials, scoring information, and specific verbal directions. For accurate screening, it is important that you use the exact language provided in the directions. There is one important note about Assessment 11A. This is the Reads Uppercase Letters subtest from the kindergarten screen, which is found on page 19. There is an alternate assessment, 11A, Reads Lowercase Letters, on page 20. You can only include one subtest for a child's score, so administer the Reads Uppercase Letters subtest. If you'd like, you can do the alternate for your own information, but you will only enter the score for the Reads Uppercase Letters subtest into the online management system. Each task has a discontinue point that determines when to stop the assessment after the child has missed a certain number of items. These points are listed in the scoring information section of the directions and on the kindergarten data sheet. Please adhere to the discontinue point to be sure all children are receiving the screen in the same manner. Remember to use the directions as they are presented, again for consistency in administration. Now let's examine the kindergarten data sheet, which is where you will mark the screening results for a child. A simple marking system makes it easy to see correct and incorrect responses. For easy reference, the discontinue point that we looked at earlier is also located on the data sheet. There is no need for you to hand score the data sheet, as the online management system will do that for you. You will just need to enter the data. It's very easy. We will revisit the data sheet later in this training.
Once you have reviewed the directions and gathered the necessary materials, you're ready for Step 2, Screening the Child. Let's review some considerations to keep in mind during screening. First, establishing rapport with children, and second, precautions to take when administering the screen. Building rapport with children will go a long way to ensuring a successful and pleasant screening experience for everyone involved. Firm, pleasant requests work better than giving the child choices. For example, come with me, we're going to play some games, instead of, would you like to play some games? Don't view screening as a contest. In other words, don't see it as which students can score the highest. We want a child's answers to be automatic, so do not provide cues or hints for the child. If you provide cues or hints, that could artificially inflate scores. It is appropriate to show enthusiasm for a child's effort and to use verbal reinforcement, but be sure your feedback is neutral. Use good job or thank you instead of that's right, and be sure you're not giving feedback only when the child answers correctly. Again, planning ahead and knowing the materials will go a long way to ensuring a pleasant experience for the child and for you.
Step 3 is completing the data sheet. There is no need to score the data sheets by hand. When you enter the results from each child's data sheet, the online management system will score them automatically. You won't need to worry about computing children's chronological age, since the online management system will do that for you. As you screen a child, you will simply circle the item numbers of skills the child is able to perform correctly. You will put a small slash next to the item numbers they answered incorrectly or do not answer as shown here. Notice the discontinue points immediately to the right of each skill section. These are the points at which particular skills are stopped, and you move to the next. For example, in personal data response, you would stop assessing that skill after the child misses 3 in a row. Sometimes teachers want to assess beyond the discontinue point for information to use during instructional planning. It is okay to do this, but remember that the child will not receive numerical credit. If you decide to assess beyond the discontinue point, we recommend putting a triangle around the skill number to indicate it was a skill demonstrated beyond the discontinue point. The online management system will automatically adhere to the discontinue point and will not give credit. It is important to know that once a screening has begun, there is no going back to rescreen. If you cannot complete a screen, you will have to enter the results you were able to get into the online management system. Okay, now we are going to watch a video to see how the screen is administered. Please note that the video was edited. Just be sure when you are screening a child that you adhere to the verbal script, which provides prompts that are not seen in this video.
The user-friendly BRIGANCE early childhood screens are highly accurate, allowing you to quickly and easily identify potential learning delays in giftedness, as well as specific strengths and needs in language, motor, self-help, social-emotional, and cognitive skills. You can do all that in just 10 to 15 minutes per child. Let's take a closer look at the experience of screening a child with the BRIGANCE screens.
So what is your name?
Lynn.
And how old are you?
5.
Do you know your address, where you live? No. Okay. What is your birthday?
January 31st.
January 31st. Okay. And do you know your telephone number? No. All right. Now let's do the body parts. Okay, Krista, right there. We're going to do body parts. Do you know the name of this body part? Okay. How about this one? You know what this one's called? Okay. You know this one? Jaw. Okay. Do you know this body part? What's this called? Your shoulders. How about this one? And let's see, what is this called? Right here. That body part? Okay, how about right here? What's this called? This body part right here.
I think that's what
No? Okay, how about this one? Do you know this one? Right here? Okay. Good job. All right. Now we're going to stand up together, okay? And we're going to stand on one foot and see how long we can do it. Ready? Go. Stand on one foot. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Good job. Okay. Now let's try the other one. Ready? Pick up the other foot. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Okay. You are good at that. Okay, now let's try it with our eyes closed. Ready? Close your eyes and lift one foot up in the air. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh, that's tricky. 7. Okay, try the other foot. Let's do this one. 1. Your eyes closed. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 8, 9, 10. Okay, good job. Now let's try walking backwards. One toe to your heel. Like that. 4 steps. Good job. Very good. Oops. Okay, excellent. All right, let's sit back down and do the next one. Okie doke. Now we're going to do colors. All right, 1 second. Okay. Ready? What color is this? Red. What color is this?
Blue.
Blue. This one?
Green.
Green. What color is this? Yellow. This one? Orange. That's your favorite, right? What color is this one?
Purple.
And this one? This one? Pink. Great. Excellent. All right. Now we're going to do shapes. Can you copy this shape for me right here? Great. And draw this shape right underneath this shape. Good job. And this shape right underneath it. Very good. And this shape. Yep, just underneath.
Triangle that side. Very good. Okay. Now, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to draw a person. So with your pencil, you draw a whole person for me, the whole body. Great. You done? Great. Okay. The next thing we're going to do is draw a right. I want you to print some things. Can you print your first name, please? Great. And can you print your last name right here?
100. You counted all the way to 100. That is so high. Good job. I know, I bet you're tired after that.
Yeah.
All right, now we're going to use the blocks. All right. So, thank you. Can you show me this many blocks? Just this many. Okay, perfect. Now let's put them all back together again. And just show me this many blocks. Great. All right, put them all back. And this many blocks. Good. Okay. Put them all back. And show me this many blocks. Great. I don't know, some scraping. All right, how about this one? Can you do this number? Number of blocks. Good. All right. Now, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to count. Can you count this many? How many is this many and this many circles? 3. And how about up here? This many and this many.
3.
Okay. And over here, this many and this many blocks. 6. And over here,
6.
and how many stars? This many. 10. And this many. Good. All right. Now we're going to do our letters as our last thing. All right. So, what letter is this?
Oh,
What letter is
I'm
this?
gonna do like
You want me to put this one? That's easier. What letter is this?
that.
What letter is this?
D. So hard.
It is a little tricky. What's this one?
G.
What letter is this?
Q.
Mm-hmm. This one.
B.
Okay.
It's P.
Mm-hmm.
C. E. L. T. I.
Okay.
F. J. N. M. R. H.
Okay.
V. W. Y. Z. X. Z. K. S.
Great.
What a crazy man.
Okay. Excellent. Okay, and we are all done. Thank you very much. Very good job.
For the next activity, you have an opportunity to work with a partner to familiarize yourself with the Basic Assessments Kindergarten section. Now, if possible, work with a partner to role-play a screening session. At this time, pause the video and take 15 minutes to administer the entire BRIGANCE kindergarten screen, paying close attention to the directions. Do not worry about scoring the data sheet. This activity is simply to give you practice with administration and marking child responses. The kindergarten basic assessments that we just reviewed are a mandatory part of Kentucky's initiative. Now we're going to look at the next required assessment, the Self-Help and Social Emotional Scales. The self-help and social-emotional scales will be completed by parents and returned to you for data entry. You have the choice to send the scales home for parents to complete or conduct a parent interview to gain the information. If you do not receive this information from families, you will need to complete the teacher's report. Shown here is the Parents Report form, which is located on page 62 of the BRIGANCE manual. This form is also available in Spanish. The self-help and social-emotional scales provide a means of measuring children's self-help skills in eating, toileting, and dressing, and social-emotional skills in playing and getting along with others. These scales can be used to gain a broader understanding of the child's developmental level. If parents do not return the scales, you may want to interview the parent or caregiver in person or by phone and record their results on the form. The self-help scale, beginning on page 67, provides the questions for you to ask. As the parent answers the question, you can circle the correct response on the parent report form. Now look at the example of a completed teacher's report and scoring form, which is also located on page 66. Notice that this form is exactly like the parent form, except for one thing. The scores associated with each response are shown here, but not on the parent form. Otherwise, parents might be tempted to respond with the answer that has the most points associated with it. There will be situations where you need to screen children in Spanish and/or provide family forms in Spanish. Each school should receive the Spanish Directions Booklet. This booklet provides the directions for administering the screens and also provides family forms, such as the parent reporting form for the self-help and social-emotional scales in Spanish. JCPS is working on translating materials for other English language learners. You will receive additional information for screening these students. In addition, the Kindergarten Basic Assessments data sheet is in Spanish for when you need to provide results to families in their native language.
Now that we have administered all of the assessments, the next step, step 4, is determining what those results indicate about a child's performance. Let's examine each assessment and how we can analyze the results of each for a comprehensive view of children. Remember that as we look at each assessment, we'll want to consider a child's strengths as well as his or her needs, and we'll also want to consider reasons why a child may not have performed well in a given area. There is a helpful tool in your implementation guide, the Instructional Planning worksheet. This tool will be a great place to note your analysis of the results. The first data set we'll want to analyze is the Kindergarten Basic Assessments. After completing the BRIGANCE Kindergarten Screen with the children, we'll take our data sheets and transfer the results into the online management system. Once those results have been entered, we can access each child's screening summary report. This screening summary report will show the results in easy-to-read graphs that will show a child's kindergarten readiness. The system uses cutoff scores to determine a child's readiness. For the pilot year, we will be comparing children's scores to the current BRIGANCE Kindergarten Screen cutoff scores. Then, the data that is gathered will be analyzed and used to determine Kentucky-specific cutoffs for the full implementation in the 2013-2014 school year. So again, this pilot year is really important. Let's take a closer look. While the BRIGANCE uses the terms below average, average, and above average, Kentucky will use the terms ready with supports, ready, or ready with enrichments. As you can see here, This child's total score on the basic assessments puts her in the ready for kindergarten range. The online management system is going to help us with a further analysis of the child's performance on the screen by breaking down the child's performance in each domain. Let's take a look at another child's results. First, we see the child's total score. Notice on this bar graph that this child scored below the cutoff score of 78, and so the readiness level is in the range of ready with supports. This is a red flag. The data may be considered for use in the KSI or RTI process. Even if we know we're going to refer this child to the KSI or RTI process, let's look deeper into where exactly this child is struggling. This child performed ready in physical well-being, ready in language and communication development, and ready with supports in the cognitive and general knowledge domain. Now we have some good information about this child that will help inform the KSI or RTI process. Also, take into consideration information you have from the family, your observations of that child, in addition to any other assessments. That will help ensure this child gets the intervention he or she needs as soon as possible. Remember, you can add these notes to the Strengths and Needs section of the Instructional Planning sheet. We'll move on now to the other assessments. The SelfHelp and Social Emotional Scales is the second required tool in the BRIGANCE kindergarten screen and can give us a lot of great information to add to our picture of the child. You will enter the responses from the scales into the online management system, and once those have been entered, the results will appear on the child's screening summary report, along with the results of the kindergarten basic assessments that we looked at a few minutes ago. Just like for the basic assessments, the results for the self-help and social emotional scales are shown in easy-to-read graphs. You can see that this child's social emotional score is in the low end of the ready range, and his self-help score is just about in the middle of the ready range. Consider the results of this tool as you plan instruction. What skills does this child need to develop or strengthen to be successful? What skills can parents help teach or reinforce at home? Remember, you can add these notes to the Strengths and Needs section of the Instructional Planning sheet.
The next and final step, Step 5, is to determine what happens after we have administered all the tools and analyzed the results. We'll examine 3 areas: what to do if the screening results have raised a red flag, how to plan instruction based on the results of our analysis, and sharing results with families. The results of the tools you have administered may show a cause for concern. For example, the child whose results we looked at earlier showed readied with supports in the cognitive and general knowledge domain. Putting that child in the class without extra support may not be enough to help that child make the gains he or she needs in order to catch up. Conversely, if a child had scored in the Ready with Enrichments level, that student might also not realize his or her full potential without additional support. In cases like this, you will follow the KSI or RTI process to get the child the additional support he or she needs. The next step is to begin planning instruction, which will be easier now that we have consistent data upon which to make decisions. Let's take a look at the Instructional Planning sheet in your implementation guide. Sum up the areas of strengths and needs for each tool in the column on the left, then write notes for planning instruction on the right. After completing this sheet for each student in your class, you can compare commonalities across the class to help you plan instructional groups. The last step is to share results with families. Share results with the parents face-to-face. We realize this isn't always possible, but every attempt should be made. Use the form titled Screening Results for the BRIGANCE Kindergarten Screen. Use this document to make notes of a child's strengths and needs, parent concerns, and to write recommendations and resources. Remember that the screen is just a brief sampling of skills, and that it must be used with other data, such as observations, discussions with parents, etc., to help understand a child's specific strengths and needs in order to provide effective support and instruction.
We are going to take a quick look at the online management system. You will receive further training through an online webinar. The BRIGANCE online management system is a data entry and data management tool that you will use to enter results of the screening and generate reports that will help you analyze those results and plan for instruction. The BRIGANCE online management system is web-based, so you can access from anywhere you have an internet connection. You will receive your own unique username and password. The online data sheet is where you will enter each child's responses from the paper data sheets. Once you save the online data sheet, the system will automatically generate a screening summary report for each child. This will include the child's total score and a comparison to the state-designated readiness levels. Next, you will see those graphs we looked at earlier for the kindergarten basic assessments and the self-help and social-emotional scales. Remember that you will get much more detailed training on using the online management system during the training webinar, and we will be able to show you the customized labels for the reports. You will need to register for an online management system training webinar. To do so, go to www.brigance.com/Kentucky and click on the Pilot Information Training page link. The webinar teaches you how to log in and enter results into the BRIGANCE online management system. You will also have an opportunity to ask questions about the BRIGANCE screen and the screening process during this webinar. There is one last piece of data that we will collect. The new state regulation requires schools to collect prior setting information on children entering kindergarten for the first time. The forms for collecting this information are being sent to your school. A vital piece of data will be where the child received early care support in the 12 months before entering kindergarten. A searchable online database is provided to assist you with this task. It is important to obtain the correct name of the facility, as many people use different names for the same place. The site for the database is listed in your implementation guide. Here's a list of the data that will be collected. This data will be entered into Infinite Campus by January. In your implementation guide is a handout with more detailed information and guidelines for determining prior setting. As we conclude this training session, we hope you understand the importance of Kentucky's Common Kindergarten Screener Initiative. Kentucky's goal to have all students college and career ready must begin early in a child's life in order to enter school ready to grow, learn, and succeed. We hope that you feel confident in administering the screen, completing the necessary forms, analyzing the results, and sharing the results with families. The requirements for this pilot year are the Basic Assessments Kindergarten, the Self-Help and Social-Emotional Scales, collecting kindergarten prior setting data, and entering the data into the online management system. Review the overall timeline of the initiative. Remember that screening takes place from August 6th through October 2nd. A contact information page is included in your implementation guide for any questions or concerns you may have. Thank you for participating in the BRIGANCE Kindergarten Screen Training during this very important pilot year.